Stone and sky hold a secret conversation across millennia. The Great Pyramid of Giza, along with temples in Cambodia and towers we have yet to name, all seem to speak the same silent language. This video will reveal the hidden architectural code connecting ancient monuments worldwide, a blueprint based on advanced astronomy and sacred geometry. You will understand how a lost science might be embedded in stone, waiting for us to decipher it. Why does the same mathematical constant appear in structures oceans apart? How could ancient builders align their creations with stars they could not see with the naked eye? What does it say about humanity that we built the same shapes again and again? Are these monuments a message from our ancestors or a mirror of our own forgotten potential? In the late 19th century, a curious explorer named John Taylor made a discovery about the Great Pyramid that would ripple through time. He calculated that if you take the pyramid's base perimeter and divide it by twice its height, the result is a number startlingly close to pi. This mathematical constant, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, was thought to be a much later discovery. Yet here it was, seemingly encoded into the very stones of a 4,500-year-old monument. This was not an isolated accident. It was a glimpse into a foundational layer of a hidden code, a system of sacred geometry that uses universal constants as its alphabet. This code relies on numbers and ratios that appear throughout nature, from the spiral of a seashell to the arrangement of petals on a flower. The golden ratio, often called phi, is another such constant, a special number approximately equal to 1.618. It appears in the proportions of the Parthenon in Greece and is woven into the dimensions of pyramids at Giza and Teotihuacan in Mexico. These were not merely aesthetic choices. Researchers like John Anthony West and Graham Hancock have long argued that these mathematical principles were integral to the function of these sacred sites, connecting the earthly and the celestial. The alignments are just as precise. Temples from Karnak in Egypt to Angkor Wat in Cambodia were oriented with breathtaking accuracy to the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, or to the rising and setting of specific stars and planets. The sprawling temple complex of Angkor Wat, for instance, is laid out as a terrestrial map of the Draco constellation. This suggests the builders worked from a celestial blueprint, aiming to create a mirror of the heavens on Earth. So we are left with a profound question. Do these shared mathematical and astronomical foundations, found in cultures separated by oceans and millennia, point to a single, lost source of advanced knowledge, perhaps handed down from a common ancestor? Or do they reveal a universal human instinct, a deep-seated connection to the cosmos that inspired different cultures to build the same sacred language in stone, completely independent of one another? This idea of a global alignment network pushes the mystery to its absolute limits. Stretch an imaginary line across the planet, and it might just connect the Great Pyramid to Stonehenge, then leap across the Atlantic to the Avenue of the Dead at Teotihuacan, and continue across the Pacific to the silent, brooding moe of Easter Island. These are not random dots on a map. To some researchers, they form a deliberate pattern, a web of sacred sites placed with an intention we are only beginning to grasp. This is the controversial realm of ley lines and earth grids, a concept first popularized by an English amateur archaeologist named Alfred Watkins in the 1920s. He proposed that ancient pathways connected hilltops, springs, and old churches, following straight alignments that he believed were old trading routes or spiritual tracks. This idea of geomancy, the art of placing structures in harmony with the Earth's unseen energies, suggests that locations were chosen for their unique properties, perhaps telluric currents or magnetic anomalies. Imagine these monuments not just as buildings, but as acupuncture needles for the planet, positioned at key points to balance or channel energy. The alignments are often astronomical. Ireland's Newgrange passage tomb, older than both the pyramids and Stonehenge, is engineered so that on the winter solstice, a single beam of sunlight pierces a roof box and illuminates the inner chamber for just 17 minutes. This was not a random window. It was a precise calendar and a powerful symbolic event, linking the cycles of the sun to the realm of ritual. The distances between these sites also reveal a startling mathematical precision. Some researchers point out that the Great Pyramid lies at the center of the Earth's landmass, a geometric centroid when you calculate the distribution of all the continents. How could an ancient civilization possibly have known that? This single fact alone prompts a profound debate. Were these global placements merely a fantastic coincidence, the result of cultures independently choosing high ground or river valleys? Or do they point to a lost science of sacred geography, a unified understanding of the Earth as a living being, its power points marked by stones that have stood for millennia? This network hints at a coordinated effort that seems to transcend time and culture, as if our ancestors were all reading from the same hidden map. The Great Pyramid's silent encoding of pi is a whisper of a much larger conversation. It is a conversation written in the language of numbers and ratios, a code repeated from the sands of Egypt to the jungles of Central America. This code relies on two universal constants, pi and phi. Pi, approximately 3.1416, is the fixed relationship between a circle's circumference and its diameter. Phi, roughly 1.618, is known as the golden ratio, a proportion celebrated for its unique and pleasing balance. The mathematician Livio Catulo Stecchini dedicated his life to studying ancient measurement systems, arguing that Egyptian builders possessed a profound and precise understanding of these ratios, integrating them into their metrology. They were not just building tombs, they were constructing embodiments of cosmic order. We see this in the very shape of the Great Pyramid. Its original height stands in a specific relationship to its base perimeter, a ratio that, when calculated, brings you remarkably close to the value of 2 times pi. This was not an accident of construction. It suggests the pyramid was conceived as a representation of a sphere, or perhaps the Earth itself, translated into a square base and triangular sides. The same mathematical mind appears in the New World. The Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan in Mexico has a base perimeter that is precisely 4 times pi times its original height, a nearly identical geometric principle applied an ocean away. Then there is phi, the golden ratio. It appears in the elegant curve of a nautilus shell, the spiral of a galaxy, and the proportions of the human body. Ancient architects harnessed this natural harmony. The Parthenon in Greece is a textbook example where the facade fits perfectly within a golden rectangle. In India, the soaring spires of temples like the Candaria Mahadeva were designed using the Fibonacci sequence, a number pattern whose ratios progressively approach the golden mean, guiding the eye heavenward in a rhythm found in nature itself. This geometry was not merely for show. In structures like Francis Chartres' cathedral, these proportions are believed to influence the acoustics, creating resonant spaces where chant and music could achieve a celestial quality, transforming sound into a spiritual experience. A modern architect seeking to recreate the profound serenity of these ancient sites might deliberately incorporate phi into the dimensions of a room's height, width, and length. The result is often a space that feels inexplicably balanced and harmonious, a place where people report a natural sense of calm. This leads to a reflective question that echoes across the centuries. Why would cultures with no conceivable contact, from the Maya to the Mesopotamians, all gravitate toward the same mathematical ideals? It seems these numbers are more than just tools for construction. They appear to be a universal code for beauty and balance, a shared architectural grammar written into the fabric of our world, and perhaps into the very blueprint of human perception. The precision of this celestial code becomes breathtakingly clear when we see it in action. High atop a Babylonian ziggurat, a priest would not only be closer to the gods, but would be acting as an astronomer, meticulously tracking the cyclical dance of Venus across the night sky. These structures were more than places of worship. They were the ancient world's most sophisticated observatories, stone computers programmed with the movements of the heavens. This was a global phenomenon. In Egypt, the sprawling Karnak temple complex was aligned so perfectly that on the winter solstice, sunlight would travel down its main axis to illuminate the inner sanctuary, a direct connection between the sun god and his earthly home. Across the ocean at Chichen Itza in Mexico, a different solar spectacle occurs each equinox. As the sun sets, the stepped corners of the El Castillo pyramid cast a series of triangular shadows down the northern staircase, creating the undulating body of a giant serpent slithering toward the earth. This was not just a clever trick of the light. It was a public, dramatic demonstration of a profound astronomical understanding, a calendar carved in stone and shadow. The work of astronomers like Gerald Hawkins in the 1960s helped crack this code. By analyzing the positions of the stones at Stonehenge, he proposed that the monument functioned as a massive astronomical computer, with alignments that could predict lunar eclipses and mark the extreme rising and setting points of the sun and moon. The evidence is etched into the very bones of these sites. The narrow shafts deep within the Great Pyramid, once thought to be ventilation channels, are now understood to point directly toward the stars of Orion's belt, a constellation intimately linked with the Egyptian god of rebirth, Osiris. Meanwhile, the vast temple city of Angkor Wat is laid out as a terrestrial map of the Draco constellation, mirroring the stars of a dragon in the arrangement of its towers and reservoirs. Even the rising of the star Sirius, whose heliacal appearance heralded the annual flooding of the Nile, was precisely marked by the orientation of certain Egyptian temples, tying the rhythm of the state directly to a cosmic event. In the highlands of Scotland, Celtic stone circles like Callanish capture the more complex 18.6-year cycle of the moon, its southernmost rising point framed perfectly between towering monoliths. And a recent discovery of a Mayan observatory at Xochicalco revealed a shaft that allowed sunlight to penetrate only on specific days, enabling priests to predict solar eclipses with remarkable accuracy. So we are left to wonder, were these precise alignments primarily practical tools for agriculture and timekeeping, ensuring that crops were planted and harvests gathered at the perfect moment? Or was their true purpose even more profound? These celestial connections seem to have been a way to tether human civilization to the cosmos, to demonstrate that the order of the universe was reflected in the order of society, and that by building in harmony with the stars, humanity could touch the divine. A Bronze Age merchant could have traveled from the banks of the Nile to the Indus Valley with a single measuring rod, and it would have matched the standards used by local builders. This astonishing uniformity points to a fourth layer of the code, a standardized unit of measurement that transcends culture and continent. The most famous of these is the Egyptian royal cubit, a length of approximately 52.3 centimeters. But this was far more than a simple ruler. Metrology researchers like John Mitchell, who dedicated his life to the study of ancient measure, argued that this cubit was derived from the Earth itself. He proposed a canon of ancient measure, a universal system where the royal cubit was 1/10,000,000th of the polar radius of our planet. Think about that for a moment. An ancient unit carved into wood and stone appears to encode a precise knowledge of the world's dimensions that we assume was impossible for its time. This same principle is found across Europe, where a unit dubbed the megalithic yard, roughly 82.9 centimeters, has been identified in the layouts of stone circles from Stonehenge to Scotland. The researcher Alexander Thom meticulously surveyed hundreds of these sites and found this standard unit repeating with a consistency that defies coincidence. It is as if a single master architect provided the blueprint for monuments separated by thousands of years. The evidence becomes even more compelling when we look east. The meticulously planned city of Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley, a civilization with no known contact with Egypt, used a unit of measurement that aligns perfectly with the Egyptian cubit. The Great Pyramid's base side was designed as precisely 440 of these royal cubits, a number with its own geometric significance. This was not a random choice. It was a deliberate application of a sacred number to achieve a specific harmonic proportion. These measures were often derived from the human body, the cubit from the forearm, the foot from, well, the foot, creating a tangible link between the human scale and the cosmic scale. The geometry is inescapable. The perimeter of the Great Pyramid's base equals exactly half a nautical mile, or 1 minute of latitude at the equator, further cementing its connection to the Earth's measurement. Imagine a modern surveyor equipped with laser precision, discovering that the same fundamental unit of length was used to lay out a pyramid in Egypt, a stone circle in Britain, and a massive platform at a pre-Columbian site in Peru. The data would be undeniable, yet the explanation remains one of history's greatest puzzles. So we are left to ponder, was this global standardization simply a product of extensive trade routes and cultural migration, where knowledge of measurement traveled along with goods and ideas? Or does it point to something far more profound, a forgotten global science that understood the Earth as a single, measurable entity and built a sacred architecture upon its fundamental dimensions? This shared rule of measure suggests an interconnected ancient world, whispering of a time when humanity built from a common blueprint. A mandala drawn in sand contains the same essential patterns found in the floor plans of Gothic cathedrals and Hindu temples. This is the fifth mystery, the silent language of sacred geometry. Shapes like the circle, the square, and the pentagram were not merely decorative. They served as a symbolic language, a visual code for cosmic order and spiritual principles understood across the ancient world. The circle represents unity and the infinite cosmos, while the square signifies the material world and the four cardinal directions. Their intersection creates the vesica piscis, an almond-shaped form born from two overlapping circles. This powerful symbol, seen in the halos of Christian saints and the floor labyrinths of cathedrals like Chartres, was considered a generative portal, a symbol of creation itself. From this single form emerges the flower of life, a complex pattern of interlocking circles found inscribed within the Temple of Osiris at Abydos and in ancient Chinese art. It is viewed as a blueprint of reality containing the patterns of all creation. Similarly, the intricate lines of the Sri Yantra in Hindu tradition are not just art, they are a geometric map of the cosmos and the human consciousness, used for centuries as a focal point for meditation. Scholar Robert Lawler explored how these geometries were seen as bridges between the seen and unseen worlds. They were a science of the soul, providing a framework for understanding the underlying harmony of the universe. This symbolic code manifests in architecture worldwide. The cube, representing stability and the earth, is the sacred form of the Kaaba in Mecca and the fundamental shape of the Vedic fire altar. Greek temples were meticulously designed using golden rectangles, their proportions perfectly aligned with the ratio of phi to create an instinctively pleasing and harmonious structure. In Islamic art, breathtakingly complex mosaics use repeating geometric patterns to infinity, a way to represent the infinite nature of the divine without using figurative imagery, thus avoiding idolatry. Even the octagon, a shape bridging the square and the circle, was chosen for many Byzantine baptismal fonts, symbolizing the believer's transition from earthly life to spiritual rebirth. An individual spending time in deep contemplation within a space like Chartres Cathedral, with its precise geometric layout and resonant acoustics, might report a noticeable shift in their state of awareness, a feeling of profound peace and connection. This recurring experience across cultures and eras leads to a compelling question. Do these universal geometric forms tap into a fundamental layer of human consciousness, acting as keys that unlock a shared perception of harmony and the sacred? Or were they simply the most successful artistic conventions, passed down and refined over millennia because they felt inherently right? Their persistent use suggests something deeper than tradition. It implies a symbolic code written into the very way we perceive reality, a code our ancestors understood how to build in stone. Deep within the grand gallery of the Great Pyramid, a single chant does not simply fade away. It is transformed, amplified into a complex cascade of echoes that seem to dance between the massive limestone blocks. This is no accident of construction. It is the sixth mystery, a sonic dimension to the architectural code, where sound itself was a tool for ritual, healing, and perhaps even communication with the unseen. Across the ancient world, sites were engineered not just for the eye, but for the ear. In Ireland, the 5,000-year-old passage tomb of Newgrange contains a chamber where sound resonates at a specific, powerful frequency, creating a reverberation that can be felt in the bones. Beneath the island of Malta, the Hypogeum, a labyrinthine subterranean structure, holds an oracle room where a voice spoken into a niche is projected throughout the entire lower level, a phenomenon that modern visitors describe as both awe-inspiring and disorienting. Researchers like Stephen J. Waller, a pioneer in the field of archaeoacoustics, study how ancient builders manipulated sound waves. He suggests that the placement of rock art in certain caves may have been chosen for their acoustic properties, where the echoes of drumming would have created the illusion of spirits speaking from the stone. This was a deliberate science. The builders understood that specific shapes and materials could harness sound. Greek theaters were designed with parabolic curves to project a speaker's voice to every seat. In Mayan ball courts, the unique geometry of the parallel walls creates a distinct echo, a sharp, percussive sound that mimicked the call of a sacred bird, turning a physical game into a cosmic drama. In Egypt, so-called oracle chambers were designed so that a priest could speak in a whisper from a hidden alcove, their voice magnified and seemingly emanating from the statue of a god itself. At the Karnak alignments in France, some of the thousands of standing stones are lithophonic, meaning they ring with a metallic chime when struck, a living, sonic landscape. The design of Vedic temples in India follows a similar principle, where the precise mathematical ratios governing the structure are intended to resonate with specific frequencies used in chanting, believed to purify the space and the individual. Modern experiments give us a glimpse into the potential power of this ancient knowledge. Studies have shown that certain low frequencies, like those produced by large drums or didgeridoos, can actually shift brainwave patterns, encouraging states of deep relaxation or heightened awareness. So we must ask, were these profound acoustic effects a happy coincidence of monumental building, or were they the entire point? The evidence points to a culture of deep listening, where the architecture was a giant instrument. Its purpose was to alter consciousness, to use vibration and resonance as a bridge to the spiritual realm, to make the intangible force of sound a tangible part of sacred experience. This sonic layer reveals a code that was not just seen but heard and felt, a forgotten harmony written into the very stones. A flowing stream can carve a canyon, but in the hands of ancient architects, water became a precise instrument of power and ceremony. The seventh layer of this hidden code reveals that pyramids and temples were not isolated monuments, but the heart of sophisticated hydraulic landscapes. Beyond simple irrigation or drinking supply, water was woven into the very function of these sacred sites, serving purposes that blur the line between ritual and technology. Consider the sprawling complex on the Giza Plateau. While we envision it as a desert necropolis, geological surveys and the work of engineers like Christopher Dunn suggest it was once crisscrossed by a network of channels and harbors. Dunn's controversial theory proposes the Great Pyramid itself was a massive machine, a geomechanical power plant that used water flowing through its subterranean chambers and narrow shafts to create vibrations or even generate an energy field. This idea of water as an energetic component finds echoes in other ancient wonders. High in the Andes, the enigmatic ruins of Tiwanaku feature perfectly cut stone channels and aqueducts whose function remains debated. Were they for drainage, or were they part of a larger system to channel and manipulate telluric energies, using flowing water to create a piezoelectric effect where mechanical stress generates an electrical charge? The symbolic and ceremonial use of water is even more widespread. At Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley, the Great Bath stands as a testament to the importance of ritual purification, its watertight construction hinting at a deep understanding of hydraulic engineering for spiritual ends. In the mountains of Peru, Machu Picchu's intricate system of fountains and channels may have served a dual purpose. The still surfaces of ceremonial pools could have acted as perfect mirrors for the night sky, allowing priests to track celestial movements in the reflection, while the sound of flowing water would have amplified the site's profound acoustic properties, merging the visual and the auditory into a single sacred experience. This connection to the cosmos was literal. The annual flooding of the Nile was the lifeblood of Egypt, and the orientation of the pyramids and their causeways appears deliberately aligned with this cyclical event. The temples were not just observing the stars, they were integrated with the Earth's own watery rhythms. Even more striking are sites like Japan's submerged structures off Yonaguni, massive step terraces that suggest a culture so advanced in maritime engineering they built monuments meant to be interacted with by the sea itself. So we are compelled to ask, was water merely a symbolic element for purification? Or did these ancient builders understand its physical properties on a much deeper level? Could flowing water, channeled through specific stone conduits, have been a method to amplify or transmute the Earth's natural energies, turning a temple into a resonating chamber of both spiritual and tangible power? This holistic integration of hydraulics reveals a vision where architecture, astronomy, and the primal element of water were fused into a single, living system. This slow, celestial wobble of our planet, known as the precession of the equinoxes, completes one full cycle every 26,000 years. It is a timescale so vast it defies ordinary human comprehension. Yet there is compelling evidence that this grand cosmic clock was not only known to our ancestors, but was deliberately encoded into their most enduring structures. The Great Sphinx of Giza, with its leonine body, gazes precisely toward the eastern horizon. Around the year 10,500 BC, that spot marked the rising of the constellation Leo on the spring equinox. This has led some researchers to propose the Sphinx is far older than we believe, a monument built to mark the age of Leo. Similarly, the shafts within the Great Pyramid, which aligned with the stars of Orion's belt around 2500 BC, point to different celestial positions today because of this slow precessional drift. The builders were not just capturing a snapshot of their own sky, they were building a long-term observatory that acknowledged the sky's gradual transformation. This understanding appears across the world. The ancient Hindu texts describe vast cycles of time called yugas, which span thousands of years and correspond remarkably to the precessional cycle. The Mayan long count calendar, which famously ended in 2012, was based on complex numerological cycles that also reflect this astronomical phenomenon. Author Graham Hancock has long argued that this is not a coincidence. He suggests this encoded knowledge is a message from a lost civilization, a warning about recurring cataclysms that reshape the world at the cusp of each new age. Modern software allows us to test these theories. By digitally rewinding the night sky, we can see how the temples of Angkor Wat align with the Draco constellation, not for the time they were built in the 12th century, but for an epoch thousands of years earlier. The massive stone platform of Baalbek in Lebanon, one of the largest ever constructed, shows alignments with celestial poles that shift with precession. The walls of Egyptian temples are covered with zodiacal symbolism that tells a story not of a single era, but of the great year of 26,000 years. So we are left with a profound and reflective question. Was this ancient obsession with precession a practical effort to predict earthly cataclysms tied to these cosmic shifts, a literal countdown to upheaval? Or was its purpose even more profound, a spiritual map of human evolution, suggesting that our collective consciousness itself moves through distinct ages, and that these stone calendars were built to guide us through that immense journey? This encoding of a 26,000-year cycle reveals a cosmic vision that challenges our very definition of ancient knowledge. The stones themselves tell a story of impossible weight and seamless union. At sites like Baalbek in Lebanon, a foundation stone estimated to weigh over 1,000 tons sits in its quarry, a silent testament to an ambition that dwarfs our own. How did ancient builders not only move such colossal blocks, but fit them together with a precision that modern diamond-tipped saws would struggle to replicate? This is the ninth mystery, a global puzzle of megalithic engineering that points to a shared and perhaps lost school of advanced construction. The polygonal walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru are a masterpiece of this art. Giant stones, some weighing hundreds of tons, are carved with complex interlocking shapes that fit together so perfectly a razor blade cannot slip between them. This jigsaw puzzle of granite has withstood centuries of powerful earthquakes, its flexible, mortarless design allowing it to sway and settle without collapsing, a feat of seismic engineering we are only now fully appreciating. The methods for achieving such perfection remain hotly debated. Mainstream archaeology suggests a combination of immense human labor, clever levers, and earthen ramps. Yet other researchers point to evidence that defies these explanations. Drill holes in Egyptian granite, for instance, show a feed rate and cutting precision that suggest tools far beyond simple copper chisels and sand. Authors like Erich von Däniken have long speculated about lost technologies or even knowledge from outside our world, though these ideas remain firmly on the fringe. The evidence, however, is etched in stone worldwide. In Greece and at Incan sites like Ollantaytambo, builders used metal clamps, often poured in place from a molten state, to lock massive blocks together, a technique requiring sophisticated metallurgy and an understanding of anti-seismic principles. The uniformity is staggering. The same method of dressing stones with perfectly flat, slightly convex surfaces appears in the Cyclopean walls of Mycenae in Greece and in pre-Incan structures in Peru. This was not a matter of different cultures stumbling upon the same crude method. It was the application of an identical, highly refined standard. One of the most provocative theories involves the very composition of the stones. Some materials scientists, like Joseph Davidovits, propose that the core blocks of the Great Pyramid were not quarried, but cast in place using a form of geopolymer concrete, a manufactured stone that would explain the perfect fit and the absence of tool marks. This idea of a manufactured stone challenges our entire perception of their capabilities. We get a humbling glimpse of this lost knowledge from Easter Island. When modern researchers attempted to replicate the movement of a single Moai statue using only ropes and human power, their best efforts failed dramatically. It was only by consulting local oral traditions that they succeeded, rocking the giant statue forward in a walking motion, a technique that had been preserved not in textbooks but in story. This single anecdote speaks volumes. It suggests that the true technology was not just in the tools, but in the nuanced, hands-on knowledge passed down through generations, a wisdom that could be easily lost to time. So we are left to wonder. Did this global mastery of megalithic construction arise from cultures independently solving the same immense engineering problems? Or does the startling uniformity in technique, from the clamps of Greece to the polygonal walls of Peru, point to a common source, a single, advanced architectural school whose curriculum was written in the movement of mountains and the fitting of stones without mortar? This shared engineering language suggests a depth of practical knowledge that we have only begun to decipher. A compass would have been redundant for the master builders of the Great Pyramid. Its sides are aligned to the cardinal directions with an error of less than 1/15 of a degree, a precision that rivals modern surveying. This was not an isolated feat of engineering. From the stepped pyramids of Mesoamerica to the Buddhist stupas of Asia, sacred architecture worldwide is overwhelmingly oriented to the four cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. This 10th mystery reveals a directional code, a foundational layer of the cosmic blueprint that tied human construction to the absolute order of the universe. In ancient Egypt, each direction held profound spiritual meaning. The west was the realm of the departed, leading pyramids and tombs to be placed on the Nile's western bank. The east, the place of the sun's rebirth, dictated that temple entrances faced the dawn to welcome the solar deity. This was a cosmology built in stone, where directions were not abstract but inhabited by specific gods and cosmic principles. The researcher Alexander Thom, after surveying countless megalithic sites across Europe, concluded that Neolithic builders achieved a stunning astronomical accuracy, using simple sighting poles to determine true north by observing the rotation of the stars around the celestial pole. This knowledge was global. The intricate city planning of ancient Chinese capitals was governed by Feng Shui, an art of placement that harmonizes human structures with the unseen flows of energy, always respecting the sacred axial relationships between north, south, east, and west. In the Americas, the great Mesoamerican city of Teotihuacan is laid out on a grid that deviates 15.5 degrees east of north, an alignment not to true north, but to the setting of the Pleiades star cluster on a key ceremonial date. This demonstrates a sophisticated understanding that extended beyond simple cardinality to capture specific celestial events. Even structures that seem circular adhere to this rule. The great stupas of Sanchai in India are oriented along a sacred axis, with their gateways facing the four directions, each one representing a different event in the Buddha's life and a different quadrant of the mandala, a symbolic map of the cosmos. For the Navajo people, the traditional hogan is a powerful example of this living tradition. Its door always faces east to greet the first rays of the sun, a daily ritual that connects the home and its inhabitants to the cycle of creation and the source of life. This universal practice leads to a question that touches the core of human perception. Does this relentless orientation to the cardinal points reflect an innate biological human need for order, a cognitive map hardwired into our brains? Or does it point to a once universal belief system, a disseminated worldview that understood the cosmos as a great, ordered house, and humanity's role as building in harmony with its permanent, invisible walls? This directional code is perhaps the most visible evidence of a shared cosmic worldview, a silent agreement across millennia that true sacredness is found in alignment with the fundamental geometry of the world itself. A Feng Shui master sensing the flow of dragon lines through a mountain chooses the same ideal location for a temple that a Celtic druid might have felt called to for a stone circle. This is the 11th mystery, the global integration of geomantic principles, where architecture was not imposed upon the landscape, but carefully woven into its living fabric. This ancient art, known as Feng Shui in China and Vastu Shastra in India, viewed the earth as a living body crisscrossed with energy pathways. Practitioners of these traditions acted as acupuncturists for the planet, selecting sites for pyramids, temples, and towers based on the subtle interplay of terrain, water, and magnetic forces. The placement of Machu Picchu is a textbook example of this wisdom. The city was not simply built on a mountain ridge, it was integrated into it. The surrounding peaks were considered sacred apus or mountain spirits, offering spiritual protection, while the Urubamba River coiled around the site like a great serpent, its flow harnessed to channel what Feng Shui would call Sheng Kai, or vital breath. In Egypt, the Giza Plateau was not a random desert expanse. Researchers note its proximity to significant geological faults and underground water tables, suggesting the pyramids were positioned to tap into the Earth's own resonant vibrations, much like a tuning fork placed on a table. Even the soaring Gothic cathedrals of Europe, like Chartres, were often built over ancient springs or pagan sites, their deep foundations interacting with telluric currents that some sensitive visitors still report feeling today. These principles were deeply ecological. In Mesoamerica, pyramids were frequently built atop sacred mountains or designed to mirror their shapes, creating a direct symbolic link between human construction and the power of nature. The rules of Vastu Shastra in India meticulously detail which sites to avoid, such as land near cemeteries or places with a history of conflict, reflecting an intuitive understanding of how past events can leave a lingering impression on a location. Remarkably, many of these geomantically chosen sites overlap with what modern science identifies as biodiversity hotspots, areas teeming with unique life, hinting that this ancient science was attuned to the planet's most vibrant and energetic zones. A contemporary architect seeking to create a home that promotes well-being might consult these old principles, orienting the building to the sun's path, using natural materials and ensuring a free flow of air and light. The result is often a space that feels inherently peaceful and supportive. So we are left to wonder, are these geomantic principles based on a literal, observable energy that we are only now beginning to measure with advanced instruments? Or are they profound cultural metaphors, a poetic language for expressing a deep, intuitive understanding that to build in harmony with the land is to build in harmony with ourselves? This global integration of Earth wisdom reveals an architecture that listened to the whispers of the world. A child's drawing of a pyramid is a global phenomenon, a shape that echoes from the deserts of Egypt to the jungles of Guatemala. This is the 12th mystery, the uncanny recurrence of the pyramid form across continents and cultures that had no known contact. Why would the Nubians in Sudan, the Maya in Mexico, and ancient builders in far-off Indonesia all independently arrive at this same geometric ideal? The simplest answer lies in structural stability. A pyramid is inherently strong, a pile of stones that resists collapse, its wide base and narrowing peak naturally shedding rain and withstanding the elements. Yet this practical explanation feels insufficient when we see the profound symbolic weight these structures carried. In Mesopotamia, the great ziggurats were stepped pyramids, seen as stairways for the gods to descend to earth and for priests to ascend toward the heavens. They were artificial mountains reaching for the sky in landscapes that were often flat. The smooth-sided pyramids of Egypt took this concept further, representing the primordial mound of creation from which all life emerged, a ramp for the pharaoh's soul to climb to join the circumpolar stars. Even in North America, the massive earthworks and circular pyramid mounds, like those at Cahokia, served as ceremonial platforms that connected the earthly realm with the world above. The debate between mainstream and alternative researchers highlights this tension. Prominent archaeologists like Zahi Hawass emphasize the distinct cultural contexts, pointing out that Egyptian pyramids were primarily tombs, while Mesoamerican pyramids were temples for ritual and sacrifice. In contrast, researchers like Semir Osmanagic, who champions the controversial Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, argue for a deeper, older connection, suggesting a global network of energy-emitting pyramids built by a lost civilization. His claims have sparked intense debate in the scientific community, forcing a re-examination of what we consider possible. Beyond symbolism, peculiar properties are reported. Some studies have suggested that the pyramid shape itself can focus electromagnetic energy, creating unusual anomalies within its chambers. The complex interior of the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, with its layers of mica and carefully positioned tunnels, hints at a function far more complex than a simple platform. These structures were also precise astronomical instruments. The stepped corners of El Castillo at Chichen Itza become the body of a serpent on the equinox, while the Great Pyramid's shafts pinpointed key stars. The pyramid, in its essence, seems to be a resurrection machine across belief systems, a geometric vessel designed to transform and transport consciousness from the mortal plane to the divine. So we are left to ponder a question that spans the globe. Is the pyramid's ubiquity merely the logical conclusion of stacking stones as high as possible, a simple case of form following function? Or does this singular shape tap into a universal human archetype, a deep, shared memory of a sacred mountain that connects the earth we walk on with the cosmos we aspire to reach? The spiral of a nautilus shell and the curve of a galaxy share a hidden mathematical rhythm, a pattern of growth found in the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower and the branching of trees. This is the 13th mystery, the deliberate encoding of mathematical sequences like the Fibonacci series into the very bones of sacred architecture. The Fibonacci sequence begins with 0 and 1, and each subsequent number is the sum of the two before it, creating a progression of 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. As these numbers grow, the ratio between them gets closer and closer to phi, the golden ratio, nature's signature proportion. Ancient builders did not just stumble upon this pattern. they wove it into their designs as a direct invocation of cosmic order. Mathematician Keith Critchlow dedicated his career to uncovering these principles, showing how sacred art and architecture are a visual science of number, a bridge between the seen world and the unseen harmony governing it. We see this in the elegant layout of the Parthenon, where the facade fits perfectly within a golden rectangle, its proportions dictated by the Fibonacci sequence. The very slopes of the Great Pyramid can be defined by a Pythagorean triangle, a right-angled triangle whose sides are whole numbers, a concept supposedly formalized long after the pyramid was built. This knowledge was not confined to the West. The intricate, recursive patterns of Hindu temple mandalas, like the one for the Sri Yantra, are generated through complex numerical progressions that mirror the Fibonacci spiral, guiding the devotee's eye and mind toward the infinite. Even the diameters of certain Neolithic stone circles in Britain appear to be based on prime numbers, a choice that may have held deep numerological significance. This mathematical code appears everywhere in the natural world, from the logarithmic spiral of a hurricane to the fractal branching of a river delta. The ancient Maya carved this same spiral into their stone reliefs, a symbol of cyclical growth and celestial motion. In the soaring heights of Gothic cathedrals, the magnificent rose windows are not just beautiful stained glass. They are complex numerological diagrams, their petal counts and tracery patterns often reflecting Fibonacci numbers, creating a wheel of light that resonates with the mathematical structure of creation. A modern analysis of the Angkor Wat complex revealed its core dimensions are based on a series of Fibonacci ratios, proving this was a conscious design principle used to achieve a profound, instinctive harmony. So we are drawn back to a fundamental question. Did these ancient builders, through deep observation of the natural world, intuitively grasp these universal patterns of growth and proportion? Or does the sophisticated, deliberate application of these sequences point to a more structured form of knowledge, perhaps inherited from a sophisticated mentor civilization that understood the very language of the cosmos? This mathematical encoding is more than a design tool. It is a testament to a worldview that saw number as the sacred grammar of reality itself. A single beam of light can carve meaning from stone. At the winter solstice, the rising sun pierces the deep passage of Ireland's Newgrange, a tomb older than the pyramids, to illuminate a chamber that has stood in darkness for a full year. This was no happy accident of architecture. It was a precisely engineered event, a moment where the cosmos reached down to touch the earth in a spectacle of divine timing. Ancient builders worldwide were masters of this dramatic interplay, using light and shadow not just for illumination, but as a language to mark sacred time and convey profound spiritual truths. Their structures were giant calendars and cosmic clocks, designed to capture specific celestial moments with breathtaking accuracy. At the great temple of Abu Simbel in Egypt, the dawn sun on 2 days of the year penetrates the inner sanctuary to illuminate the statues of 3 gods, leaving the god of the underworld, Ptah, appropriately in shadow. The researcher Martin Brennan spent years studying the intricate art and alignments of Irish passage tombs, concluding they were sophisticated solar and lunar observatories, their carved spirals and symbols activated by the shifting angles of light throughout the year. This knowledge of light manipulation was a global phenomenon. In Mexico, the equinox sunset at Chichen Itza transforms the Pyramid of El Castillo into a slithering serpent of shadow and light, a public demonstration of power and astronomical precision. Inside Egyptian temples, carefully positioned shafts of sunlight would highlight a specific statue of a deity at a pivotal time, making the stone figure seem to come alive with divine presence. Even the soaring spaces of Gothic cathedrals were designed for chiaroscuro, the powerful contrast between light and shadow, where stained glass windows transformed direct sunlight into a kaleidoscope of colored narratives, enhancing the spiritual atmosphere. Builders used reflective materials to amplify these effects. Polished limestone facades would gleam in the sun, making pyramids appear as brilliant man-made mountains. Some temples incorporated pools of water or strategically placed metal plates to catch and redirect light into dark inner sanctums, guiding the sun's journey deep into the heart of the structure. These alignments often extended beyond the sun to the stars. The heliacal rising of Sirius, the event marking the Egyptian New Year and the Nile's flood, was commemorated in temple orientation, a silent stone witness to a cosmic herald. The symbolic meaning was clear. Light was divine knowledge piercing the darkness of ignorance. A powerful anecdote comes from the American Southwest, where at Fajoda Butte in Choco Canyon, a photographer documented a sun dagger phenomenon. A sliver of sunlight passing between three large stone slabs projects a dagger of light onto a spiral petroglyph behind them, perfectly bisecting the spiral on the summer solstice and framing it with two daggers on the equinox. This was a celestial calendar etched onto a cliff face by the sun itself. So we are left to wonder, were these spectacular displays of light primarily intended as public spectacles, or inspiring demonstrations of priestly power and cosmic order for the entire community to witness? Or were they initiatory secrets, carefully guarded knowledge meant for a select few who understood the deeper meaning of the sun's path through the sacred architecture? This dynamic play of light and shadow adds a living, breathing layer to the architectural code, a reminder that these monuments were not static, but active participants in a timeless conversation with the heavens. One of the oldest stories humanity tells is that of a great mountain at the center of the world, a pillar connecting the earth to the heavens. This is not merely a tale, it is a blueprint. From the stepped pyramid of Borobudur in Indonesia, which mirrors this cosmic mountain in stone, to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia that served as literal stairways for the gods, sacred architecture has always been the physical embodiment of myth. These structures are cosmological narratives made permanent, a 15th layer of the code that weaves mythology directly into the mortar. The mythologist Joseph Campbell spent his life tracing these universal archetypes, the recurring stories and symbols that appear in every culture. He noted that the concept of the axis mundi, the world axis or world tree, is one of the most pervasive. It is the central pole around which the universe revolves, a conduit between the human, earthly, and divine realms. In shamanic traditions, this axis is a spiritual ladder. In architecture, it becomes the central spire of a Gothic cathedral, the towering shikara of a Hindu temple, or the imposing height of a pyramid, each one a deliberate attempt to anchor the celestial to the terrestrial. The walls of these temples often serve as pages from an epic. The sprawling bas-reliefs of Angkor Wat depict scenes from the Hindu Ramayana, while the carvings on a Maya stele might recount the story of the hero twins descending into the underworld. These are not simple decorations, they are integral to the structure's purpose, transforming a walk through its corridors into a ritual reenactment of a sacred journey. The Egyptian pyramids were not just tombs, they were resurrection machines designed as vehicles for the pharaoh's soul. The texts inscribed inside describe his journey, identifying him with the sun god Ra, sailing across the sky, and his spirit ascending via the pyramid's slopes to take his place among the imperishable circumpolar stars. The structure itself was the mechanism for this cosmic voyage. This connection extends to foundational myths of great floods. Many Native American platform mounds, like the Great Serpent Mound, are believed by some researchers to be representations of these deluge stories, their elevated forms symbolizing the first land to emerge from a primordial sea. The very alignments of sites can reflect mythological beings. The winding path of the Avenue of the Dead at Teotihuacan has been interpreted by some as mirroring the form of a great plumed serpent, a key deity in Mesoamerican belief. Even the numbers used in construction were sacred, drawn directly from scripture and cosmology. The 3 levels of a Borobudur correspond to the realms of Buddhist cosmology, while the precise dimensions of Solomon's temple as described in the Bible are filled with numerological significance. Consider the layout of a Greek temple dedicated to Apollo. Its proportions and the placement of its altars often align with descriptions found in the Homeric hymns, creating a physical space that harmonizes with the poetic invocation of the god. This deep integration forces us to ask a reflective question. Do these universal mythological narratives simply inspire the form of our greatest architecture, giving symbolic shape to our spiritual yearnings? Or is it possible that the architecture itself is preserving a forgotten history, encoding into stone and alignment the memory of actual cosmic events or lost epochs that later became the stuff of legend? The stories and the stones are not separate. They are a single, continuous text, one written in words and the other in the very land upon which we walk. A pillar of iron in Delhi stands without a single fleck of rust after 16 centuries. This is not a modern alloy, but a testament to a forgotten mastery of metal, a 16th mystery woven into the ancient code. The materials chosen for these sacred sites were as deliberate as their alignment to the stars, suggesting a knowledge of material science that defies simple explanation. Materials scientists like Dr. Jonathan Post have studied anomalies such as the vitrified forts of Scotland, where stone ramparts were fused into glass by intense heat, a process that remains debated to this day. In South America, the discovery of platinum artifacts puzzles researchers, as this metal requires a melting point far beyond what traditional ancient furnaces could achieve. The ancient builders selected their stones with a global distributor's eye. Granite from Aswan was transported 500 miles down the Nile for the pyramid's inner chambers, prized for its incredible density and durability. The magnetic stones found in certain Greek temples, which can deflect a compass needle, hint at a deliberate incorporation of the Earth's own forces into the sacred space. This material wisdom extended to the tools themselves. Analysis of copper chisels from Egyptian pyramid sites reveals they were work-hardened and alloyed with other elements, creating a metal far tougher than pure copper, capable of shaping limestone and even granite over time. One of the most provocative theories involves the very substance of the pyramids. The geopolymer theory, proposed by scientists like Joseph Davidovits, suggests that many of the blocks were not quarried, but cast in place using a form of ancient concrete. This would explain the perfect, mortarless fit and the absence of tool marks, pointing to a chemical knowledge as advanced as their geometry. The potential applications of this knowledge verge on the electrochemical. The Baghdad battery, a clay jar containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod, could have generated a small electrical charge. While its purpose is unknown, it opens the door to speculation about electroplating or even ritual uses of subtle energy. Metals were also crucial for precision. The Antikythera Mechanism, recovered from a Greek shipwreck, is a complex bronze gearwork device that could predict planetary movements and eclipses. This was not a crude tool, but a miniature bronze computer, demonstrating a level of technical sophistication we did not believe existed 2,000 years ago. So we must ask, does this scattered but profound evidence of metallurgical and chemical skill point to cultures independently pushing the boundaries of their local resources? Or do these advanced, specialized techniques, showing up in India, Egypt, and the Americas, suggest the exchange of knowledge through a sophisticated global network, a trade in ideas as valuable as any spice or silk. This mastery of matter completes the architectural code, proving our ancestors were not only master architects of space, but alchemists of the very elements. A temple does not conquer its environment, it converses with it. The 17th layer of this hidden code reveals an architecture that breathes, an integration of biological and ecological principles so profound it feels less like construction and more like cultivation. Ancient builders did not see a division between the built world and the natural one. Instead, they designed structures that mimicked natural forms for reasons of sustainability, resilience, and spiritual harmony, long before the term biomimicry entered our lexicon. These buildings were symbolically alive, their rhythms tied to the turning of the seasons and the habits of local wildlife. Ecologists and anthropologists studying indigenous knowledge systems note that this world saw humanity as a part of a vast, interconnected web, not as a force above it. In Zimbabwe, the ancient ruins of Great Zimbabwe feature ventilation shafts that function exactly like a termite mound, using convection currents to draw cool air in and push warm air out, creating a natural and efficient cooling system for the interior spaces without any need for mechanical power. Across the world, the breathtaking complexity of Islamic geometric art is not just beautiful, it is deeply biological. The repeating, self-similar patterns of stars and polygons are fractals, the same mathematical sequences found in frost crystals and fern fronds, representing the infinite nature of the divine reflected in the endless patterns of the created world. This ecological awareness extended to the very placement of the temples. Many were aligned with the migratory paths of birds, their arrival and departure serving as a living calendar in the sky, while their flights became a visual representation of the soul's journey. Sacred groves were not just adjacent to temple complexes, they were an essential part of them, preserved patches of primordial forest that maintained the local microclimate and biodiversity, honoring the spirits of the land. The choice of materials was equally deliberate. Builders consistently used locally sourced stone and timber, materials that moved and settled with the earth, granting structures incredible seismic resilience. The flexible, mortarless walls of Peruvian sites like Ollantaytambo are a masterclass in this principle, dancing with earthquakes rather than resisting them. In arid regions, this wisdom turned to water. Elaborate systems of channels, cisterns, and underground aqueducts were designed not just to collect rainwater, but to slow its flow, filter it through sand and gravel, and store it in cool, shaded reservoirs, creating a sustainable water harvesting system that supported large populations in challenging environments. A contemporary architect seeking to design a truly green building might look to the ancient Maya, studying how their towering pyramids were designed with deep overhangs and strategic openings to create shade and promote cross-ventilation, techniques that reduce energy consumption in a modern context. This holistic integration forces a reflective question. Did these ancient builders inherently understand something we are now struggling to relearn, that to see ourselves as separate from nature is to build a fragile world, but to build as part of the ecosystem is to create a legacy that endures? This ecological code suggests a vision of architecture not as a monument to humanity, but as a careful, reverent dialogue with the living earth. The number 108 appears with an insistence that cannot be ignored, from the beads on a Buddhist mala to the precise distance between the earth and the sun. This is the 18th mystery, a silent language of sacred numerology woven into the very dimensions of pyramids, temples, and towers. Specific numbers were not arbitrary, they were cosmic keys, carrying profound spiritual and astronomical meaning across otherwise disconnected cultures. The number 3, representing a divine trinity, appears in the triple spires of Hindu temples and the 3 chambers of the Great Pyramid. The number 7, for the classical planets visible to the naked eye, dictates the tiers of Mesopotamian ziggurats and is embedded in the days of creation in multiple traditions. 12, for the signs of the zodiac or the tribes of Israel, is found in the 12 gates of the celestial city described in Revelation and echoed in the layouts of circular monuments worldwide. Historian Mircea Eliade wrote extensively on this phenomenon, noting that for ancient societies, numbers were a way to participate in the sacred, to align human creation with the perceived order of the cosmos. This encoding is breathtakingly literal. The Great Pyramid was originally covered with 144,000 polished casing stones, a number that appears again in the biblical book of Revelation, symbolizing a complete and perfected multitude. In Buddhist architecture, stupas are often built to a height of 33 meters, reflecting the 33 virtues of the Buddha. The Maya conceived of a 9-level underworld, a concept physically built into the stepped profiles of their pyramids, each tier a stage in a spiritual journey. This numerical code runs even deeper. The Hebrew practice of gematria, where letters hold numerical values, reveals hidden meanings in the measurements of Solomon's temple. The pervasive use of 360 degrees in ancient circular structures points to a shared understanding of the annual cycle, a perfect symbolic year. Prime numbers, indivisible and mysterious, were often employed in cryptic ways, their uniqueness perhaps seen as a mark of the divine. We see this principle in the recurring approximation of pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, encoded in structures from Giza to Teotihuacan. It was not the precise, endless decimal that mattered, but the powerful idea of a universal constant made manifest in stone. So we are left to ponder a question that resonates through every numbered step and measured chamber. Were these numerical choices merely symbolic, a convenient shorthand for complex spiritual ideas shared by different cultures? Or does their persistent recurrence point toward a deeper, more astonishing possibility? That these numbers encode fundamental universal truths, a mathematical framework of reality that our ancestors perceived and built into their sacred spaces as a permanent record for the future. The Great Pyramid's inner chambers were lined with granite, a stone packed with quartz crystals. When subjected to pressure, quartz generates a small electrical charge, a phenomenon known as the piezoelectric effect. Researcher Christopher Dunn proposed a radical theory, suggesting the pyramid was not a silent tomb but a massive machine, its very structure vibrating in harmony with the earth to produce and channel this subtle energy. This idea of sacred sites as power plants finds echoes in Nikola Tesla's later experiments with resonant frequencies, where he sought to transmit electrical power wirelessly through the earth itself. The pyramid's shape is uniquely suited for this purpose, believed by some to act as a lens, focusing and amplifying natural microwave or torsion fields. The entire structure may have been tuned to the planet's own heartbeat, the Schumann resonances, the extremely low-frequency electromagnetic waves that naturally exist in the space between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. This energy system would have required conductive pathways, the presence of copper in strategic locations within these monuments, from the so-called air shafts of the Great Pyramid to the clamps used in Mesoamerican construction, hints at a deliberate network for channeling electrical currents. The acoustic properties we explored earlier also play a role here, as specific resonant frequencies can concentrate vibrational energy, turning a stone chamber into a powerful capacitor. The placement of these structures often coincides with significant geological features. Many pyramids and temples sit directly atop volcanic basalt formations or major seismic fault lines, areas where the Earth's internal energies are most accessible. As an illustrative example, modern experiments with small-scale pyramid models have shown unusual effects, such as the spontaneous sharpening of razor blades placed inside or altered rates of organic decay, though these findings remain hotly debated. So we are left with a reflective question that challenges our entire historical narrative. Were these monuments sophisticated technological marvels, their true function lost to the ages, or are we simply projecting our own modern fascination with energy and technology onto the silent stones of the past, seeing power plants where our ancestors saw only temples? This possibility invites us to fundamentally rethink the capabilities of those who came before us. The walls of a temple can become a clock counting down millennia. This 20th mystery explores the startling possibility that ancient monuments were designed not just to mark time, but to encode it, preserving historical records and prophetic timelines within their very stones. These structures may function as sophisticated time capsules, their alignments, dimensions, and carvings holding a message for the future. Author John Major Jenkins dedicated his career to studying Mayan cosmology, arguing that their entire architectural philosophy was built around the great precessional cycle. The famous end date of their long count calendar in 2012 was not a prediction of doom, but a marker for the sun's alignment with the galactic center, an event they built into their ceremonial centers as a symbol of cosmic rebirth. This temporal encoding is a global phenomenon. For centuries, researchers have noted that the dimensions of the Great Pyramid, when interpreted as a scale model using its own unique unit of measurement, seem to chart a timeline of human history, with specific features corresponding to significant global events. In Egypt, the intricate zodiac of Dendera, a star chart carved on a temple ceiling, is believed by some to map the great precessional ages, marking the slow transition from the age of Taurus to the age of Aries and beyond. Even the vast geoglyphs of the Nazca Plains in Peru, those immense lines and figures visible only from the air, may have served as a giant ritual calendar, their alignments marking solar and lunar cycles critical to agriculture and ceremony. The evidence is etched in stone worldwide. Solstice markers were not just for annual rituals, they were precise dating mechanisms. A beam of light striking a specific carving only once every 52 years, as found in some Mesoamerican sites, acts as a long-term calendar, ensuring that the knowledge of cyclical time is never lost. Temple reliefs from cultures across the globe depict what scholars interpret as records of past cataclysms, great floods or volcanic eruptions, preserved not in books but in the walls of sacred spaces. The numerological codes embedded in the biblical descriptions of Solomon's Temple or the New Jerusalem suggest that sacred numbers were used to encode prophetic visions of future ages. The controversy surrounding the 2012 phenomenon perfectly illustrates this tension. While popular culture imagined an apocalyptic end, scholars like Jenkins saw it as a profound moment of recalibration in the Mayan cosmic vision, a date built into their architectural and calendrical systems to mark a shift in world ages. This forces a profound and reflective question. When we see these intricate patterns, are we witnessing a deliberate effort by our ancestors to communicate across time, to leave a permanent record of their knowledge and foresight for generations they would never meet? Or are we, with our modern minds, simply connecting dots and finding meaningful patterns in what was merely sacred art and precise astronomy? This temporal dimension of the code suggests a vision of architecture that spans not just space, but the vast, flowing river of time itself. A profound silence falls within the pyramid's hidden chamber, a darkness so complete it becomes a canvas for the mind. Beyond their roles as tombs and temples, these structures served a deeper purpose as sacred universities for the soul, where architectural genius was employed to guide initiates through transformative spiritual experiences. This was the heart of the ancient mystery schools, from the rites of Isis along the Nile to the Eleusinian ceremonies in Greece. The architecture itself was the curriculum, a three-dimensional textbook of esoteric wisdom. Esoteric scholar Manly P. Hall described these buildings as silent instructors, where every corridor, chamber, and angle was designed to convey a specific philosophical truth to the prepared individual. The journey began with sensory deprivation in pitch-black, confined spaces, forcing the initiate to turn inward and confront the self before any external revelation. The precise alignment with specific stars was not merely astronomical, it was deeply symbolic, representing the soul's astral journey back to its cosmic source. The very path through the temple was a geometric map of spiritual ascent, moving from the square base of material existence toward the pyramidal apex of enlightenment. Acoustic properties played a crucial role here, where a specific resonant frequency within a chamber could calm the brainwaves, facilitating deep meditation and making the mind receptive to profound insights. The use of specific materials and colors was equally deliberate. Polished gold leaf caught the flicker of a single torch to represent the dawning of inner light, while veins of lapis lazuli in the walls mirrored the starry night sky, creating a microcosm of the universe within the temple's heart. Hidden symbols were everywhere, but only visible to those who knew how to look. A carving might be positioned so that a beam of the equinox sun illuminated it for just a moment each year, revealing a sacred glyph to an initiate standing in the exact correct spot. There are accounts passed down through tradition of the philosopher Plato undergoing initiation in Egypt, an experience that profoundly shaped his entire theory of forms and the allegory of the cave. He learned of a higher reality behind the world of appearances, a concept he may have first encountered not in a scroll, but within the resonant silence of a granite chamber. This leads to a reflective question that echoes in the stillness of these ancient spaces. Were these magnificent structures in their truest purpose not monuments to gods or kings, but sophisticated machines for consciousness, designed with a coded curriculum to awaken the human spirit to its own latent potential? The stones themselves suggest that the greatest mystery they guard is not a hidden treasure, but the blueprint for human transformation. A stone head weighing 24 tons stares out from the Mexican jungle with features that seem to belong to another continent. This profound mystery of cross-cultural exchange asks whether the architectural code was spread by ancient mariners who crossed oceans we thought were impassable. The diffusionist theory proposes that these similarities in pyramids, motifs, and measurements are not coincidental, but the result of direct contact between ancient civilizations long before the accepted timelines of history. Norwegian explorer Thor Heyerdahl became famous for his Kon-Tiki expedition, proving it was possible for a primitive raft to drift from South America to Polynesia using only wind and current. He argued that such voyages could have seeded cultural ideas across vast distances. More controversially, author Gavin Menzies has claimed that massive Chinese fleets under Admiral Zheng circled the globe in the 15th century, leaving behind architectural influences from the Americas to Africa. The evidence lies in the stones themselves. Consider the pyramid form with its precise cardinal alignments and complex interior chambers, appearing in both Egypt and Mesoamerica. Both cultures used nearly identical stepped construction for their earliest versions, moving toward smooth sides as their techniques advanced. The artistic parallels are just as striking. The lotus flower motif, sacred in Egypt, finds a visual twin in the water lily motif central to Mayan art, both symbolizing purity and rebirth. the use of the serpent as a symbol of wisdom and cosmic energy is ubiquitous, from the uraeus on the brow of an Egyptian pharaoh to the feathered serpent gods of Mesoamerica. The distribution of specific plants in art tells a story. Depictions of maize, a crop native to the Americas, have been controversially identified in ancient Indian temple carvings, while the presence of the bottle gourd, which can float across oceans, is found in both hemispheres from a very early date. The most tangible evidence may be in the shared rule of measure. The identical length of the Indus Valley inch and the Egyptian cubit cannot be easily dismissed as independent invention. It suggests a shared standard, a common blueprint that traveled. This is further supported by shared mythologies carved into the architecture. The story of a great flood and a surviving patriarch or king is found in Mesopotamian ziggurats, Mesoamerican pyramid texts, and Andean creation myths, often linked to the orientation of the structures themselves. The Olmec colossal heads of ancient Mexico, with their distinctive, realistic features, have sparked intense debate for decades. Some researchers see in them clear representations of individuals with African facial characteristics, suggesting transatlantic contact thousands of years before Columbus. Mainstream archaeology typically attributes these features to local artistic convention, but the question lingers, challenging the narrative of complete isolation. So we are left to ponder a question that reshapes our understanding of the ancient world. Did cultures separated by continents independently arrive at the same architectural and symbolic solutions because they were responding to the same universal human spirit and the same cosmic patterns? Or does the weight of the evidence point toward a forgotten age of exploration, a sophisticated web of cross-cultural exchange where ideas, measurements, and myths were carried across the seas, weaving a single, global tapestry of sacred design long before our history books say it was possible? The stones of these ancient sites seem to listen to the Earth's own pulse. A temple might rise directly above a network of underground springs, its foundations humming with the subtle movement of water. Another is positioned where the planet's magnetic field dips and swirls in a measurable anomaly. This is the 23rd mystery, the profound alignment of sacred architecture with the unique geological and geophysical features of the land itself. These locations were not chosen for convenience alone, but for their powerful resonance with the living Earth. Modern researchers using sensitive instruments have detected unusual magnetic readings at the Giza Plateau, suggesting the builders were aware of these invisible forces. The Great Pyramid itself sits upon a massive limestone plateau that acts as a natural aquifer, with underground water channels potentially interacting with the stone to create subtle electrical currents through piezoelectricity, where pressure generates a charge. This principle of telluric energy, the Earth's own natural current, appears to have been understood and harnessed. The massive stones of Stonehenge are positioned at a precise intersection of what dowsers identify as powerful ley lines, channels of this Earth energy. Its location is also marked by a significant magnetic vortex, a place where the local geomagnetic field is unusually strong or complex. High in the Andes, Machu Picchu was built upon a stable granite ridge, a wise choice for seismic resistance, but also a stone rich in quartz crystals, known for its ability to amplify and store energy. The builders sought out these specific sites, places of power marked by caves that were seen as portals to the underworld, natural springs considered sacred for their purity, and even volcanic vents whose heat was used for ceremonial purposes. They incorporated crystal-bearing stones like granite and basalt into the most critical chambers and facades, intuitively using the Earth's own minerals as a component of their design. Some temples were deliberately aligned with active earthquake faults, not in defiance of the danger, but in recognition of their raw power, making the tremors themselves a part of the ritual significance, a direct communication with the planetary forces. The very ground beneath these monuments is often rich with mineral deposits, from the copper used in ancient tools to the iron oxides that create the vibrant reds and ochres of temple paints, tying the structures to the mineral wealth of the region. So we are drawn to a question that bridges the practical and the profound. Were these powerful geological locations selected for purely practical reasons, such as stable ground and access to water and minerals? Or does their persistent use reveal a deeper spiritual resonance, an ancient understanding that to build in harmony with the Earth's most energetic points was to tap into the very wellspring of life and power, grounding their celestial code in the bedrock of the world itself? Every step upward on a pyramid's face was a prayer carved in stone. This vertical reach, this relentless drive toward the sky seen in spires and temple peaks, forms a powerful 24th layer of the code, the universal symbolism of ascension and spiritual ascent. The architecture itself becomes a ladder, a physical pathway for the soul's journey from the earthly plane toward the divine. Across cultures, we find the recurring motif of the world tree or axis mundi, a central pillar connecting the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. The biblical story of the Tower of Babel, though a tale of caution, captures this primal urge to build a structure whose top may reach unto heaven. Similarly, the ancient Hindu Upanishads speak of a ladder of consciousness, a path leading from darkness to light. This was not mere metaphor, it was built into the very bones of sacred structures. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia were called the houses of the mountain, their stepped levels serving as a literal staircase for the god-king to achieve apotheoses, to ascend and join the deities. In the east, the multi-tiered roofs of a Buddhist pagoda represent the stages of enlightenment, each level a step further from worldly attachment. Even the spiral staircases winding inside Islamic minarets symbolize a cyclical path of rebirth and spiritual return, a journey inward as one climbs upward. The use of height was a deliberate psychological tool. To stand at the base of a towering pyramid induces a feeling of awe and humility, a recognition of one's smallness that paradoxically makes the concept of the infinite feel more accessible. This vertical alignment was often celestial. Temples were oriented not just to the horizon, but to the zenith, the point directly overhead where stars pass at their highest point, linking the pinnacle of the structure to the pinnacle of the sky. The number of steps itself held meaning. A pyramid's tiers or a temple's stairs often corresponded to a sacred number of virtues or spiritual principles the initiate was meant to master on the climb. A powerful illustrative case comes from the Mesoamerican ball courts. The game played there was far more than sport. It was a ritual of life, death, and rebirth. The ball, representing the sun, was propelled through a stone ring high on a wall, a symbolic act of guiding the celestial body through the sky. For the players, this was a form of ascension, a ceremonial journey that could end in the ultimate sacrifice, believed to secure the sun's continued rise and the world's renewal. This profound and recurring theme leads us to a reflective question that seems etched into our collective spirit. Does this global drive to build upward, to create these stone pathways to the sky, reflect an innate human yearning for transcendence, a deep-seated intuition that our true home lies beyond the horizon we can see? This ascension code unites the most diverse architectures in a single, silent hymn to the heavens. A serpent carved into a pyramid's cornerstone coils with the same geometric precision as the building's hidden chambers. This is no mere decoration, it is the 25th mystery, the seamless integration of art and iconography with the architectural code itself. The carvings, the paintings, and the statues are not added to the structure, they are born from it, forming a single, unified language of stone, light, and myth. Art historian Ananda Kumaraswamy spent his life demonstrating that in traditional societies, the artist and the architect were not separate roles. They were collaborators in a sacred craft where every image served a cosmological purpose. The sprawling bas-reliefs of Angkor Wat do more than tell stories from the Ramayana. They are laid out across the temple complex in a precise mandala pattern, transforming a walk through its galleries into a ritual journey through a symbolic universe. Similarly, the radiant stained glass of Chartres Cathedral is not just biblical illustration. It is a complex theological map where specific colors and scenes, illuminated by the sun, project a narrative of divine light into the very space of the nave, harmonizing with the cathedral's sacred geometry to elevate the soul. This artistic code uses a universal symbolic vocabulary. The serpent motif, representing cosmic energy and wisdom, slithers across the globe, from the feathered serpents of Mesoamerican temples to the protective uraeus on the brow of Egyptian pharaohs. Colors were chosen with elemental symbolism: the deep blue of lapis lazuli for the heavens, the vibrant red of ochre for life force, and the pure white of limestone for spiritual purity, each hue activating a different layer of meaning within the sacred space. In Islamic architecture, the elegant curves of calligraphy are not merely inscribed upon the arches, they are woven into their very form, the sacred words of the Quran becoming the physical structure that frames the space, blending divine message with divine geometry. The proportions are always in harmony. A statue of a deity is not placed randomly within a niche. Its height and width are calculated to resonate with the chamber's own dimensions, often based on the same golden ratios that define the building's plan. There are accounts of modern restorers carefully removing centuries of grime from a medieval church fresco, only to discover that the painting's underlying grid lines perfectly match the architectural measurements of the chapel itself, proving the art and the architecture were conceived as one. This artistic dimension forces a reflective question. Were these magnificent sculptures and vibrant murals simply beautiful additions meant to inspire worship, or were they, like the precise alignment of stones, an integral and functional component of the sacred machine, their symbolic power essential to activating the structure's intended spiritual purpose? This layer reveals that the code was not just measured, it was illustrated, a story told in color and form, forever bound to the stones that give it voice. A blueprint drawn 4,000 years ago is being redrawn on computer screens today. The ancient architectural code is not a relic of the past, but a living language being rediscovered by modern designers seeking solutions for a sustainable future. Architects are now using sophisticated software to analyze the precise ratios of the Great Pyramid or the harmonic proportions of the Parthenon, applying these timeless principles to create buildings that breathe with the environment. The visionary work of Buckminster Fuller stands as a powerful example, his geodesic domes echoing the efficiency and strength of natural forms like radiolaria and viruses, structures that nature itself has perfected over eons. This is more than aesthetic revival, it is a functional renaissance. In holistic health centers, designers are consciously integrating sacred geometry, crafting meditation rooms with dimensions based on the golden ratio to foster a natural sense of peace and mental clarity for those inside. Modern practitioners often speak of this return to ancient wisdom not as a rejection of technology, but as an essential balancing act. One architect noted that we are finally learning to listen to the stones again, to understand that the best design has always been a collaboration with the cosmos. This rediscovery is influencing everything from the grand scale of city planning to the intimate space of a home. Imagine a new community development where parks and pathways are aligned with the subtle energetic currents of the land, much like the old ley lines, aiming to promote a deeper sense of well-being and connection among residents. The principles of Vastu Shastra and Feng Shui are experiencing a major revival, guiding the orientation of buildings and the flow of interior spaces to enhance the lives of the people within. In the realm of technology, curious studies into pyramid energy have inspired new approaches to renewable energy systems, exploring how specific shapes might passively concentrate and harness the Earth's own magnetic and thermal forces. Even public monuments are being designed with astronomical alignments, creating modern Stonehenges where citizens can gather to witness the solstice sun illuminate a contemporary sculpture, reconnecting the urban landscape with the celestial cycles. This movement is also playing a vital role in cultural preservation, as indigenous communities partner with architects to rebuild sacred structures using both traditional knowledge and modern materials, ensuring their legacy endures. So we are left with a pressing and hopeful question. As we face global challenges of environmental strain and social disconnection, can this ancient code, this forgotten blueprint for harmony, offer us the key to building a world that is not only technologically advanced, but also spiritually whole and ecologically in tune? The answer may be written in the geometry of our future cities. These silent stones are a legacy of profound and interconnected wisdom. They challenge the very way we see history, not as a story of isolated cultures, but as a collaborative human endeavor written in a language of geometry, astronomy, and earth energy. Whether this architectural code stems from a single lost civilization, a universal intuition shared by humanity, or a body of advanced knowledge patiently passed down through the ages, the result is the same. A conversation in stone echoes from desert plateaus to jungle temples, inviting us to see our shared past in a new light. This journey through the hidden code is more than an exploration of ancient mysteries. It is an invitation to explore our own connection to the cosmos and to each other. These structures ask us to look up at the stars with a sense of wonder, to feel the subtle energies of the earth beneath our feet, and to recognize the enduring human spirit that seeks to build in harmony with the universe. Let this be a call to look deeper into the world's ancient wonders, not as dusty relics of a forgotten time, but as living messages waiting to be read. We would love to hear which of these mysteries resonated most with you. Was it the silent language of sacred geometry, the celestial alignments, or the possibility of a lost global science? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to continue this journey into the unknown with us, please subscribe. Together, let's keep listening, learning, and decoding the architectural code that whispers to us